Berry, or better known as Sailor Berry on YouTube. This is my boat, Thunderchild. My girlfriend and I live full-time aboard it, and it is from 1971. I think the most standout thing for a sailboat this size is that it's got flush decks instead of having the little quarter decks off the side or the half decking off the side with a raised cabin top. You have the entirety of the boat, the whole width of it is cabin top, which changes the internal volume massively. She is based on a Colin Archer design, which is an 1860s rescue ship design. So it was meant for the North Seas and saving people's lives when things got hairy. So it's a very stout, slow, stable, seaworthy boat. I live on a boat because I think it's safe to say in BC, unless you come from intergenerational wealth, you don't get to own a house. But I do own a house. A beautiful one that can go anywhere. Everyone always wants a beachfront property, but the best part about this boat is that I can have any beachfront in the world. It's not just one beach, I get all the beaches. It's a lot of freedom, a lot of responsibility too, which I think is something lacking in modern society, is people having, everything's disposable now. No one's got the, like, you buy a pair of jeans at Value Village, you rip them up, you throw them away. I used to be a vintage clothing picker and would be able to make more money if I found a pair of jeans that were ripped apart in the 40s but repaired in the 40s. People were taking care of and maintaining things. They would spend their $500 equivalent of modern money on a pair of jeans, and they'd keep them going. We don't do that anymore, and I think a lot of people are lacking that satisfaction that comes with that. It makes for a very fulfilling lifestyle, I find, to own very few things and to take care of those very few things. Suddenly, with the less things you own, the more time you have for those things as well. So it's sort of a overarching philosophy of partially minimalism, partially adventure, and partially using your brain and your skills and your understanding of the world around you to make successful decisions to get you somewhere, which is one of the most satisfying ways to travel. I went on a motorcycle road trip on my, it wasn't very far, just to Coquitlam. I had a 1968 BMW motorcycle, and it kept giving me trouble. And I kept pulling over, and I kept pulling the plugs, and kept cleaning them, and I kept putting them back in, and I waited for them to cool down, and it was a real operation. But I got myself there, and that was the first time in my life where I had that sensation of, wow, I did that with my own skills and my own knowledge, and that is just a fraction of what sailing somewhere feels like. It's a very profound feeling when you know that you've used what feels like magic. You've sailed your boat towards the wind, and you know how to do that, and you understand the physics of it, and or just the intuition of it, and you get yourself there, and then you have this little paradise all to yourself when you get there. And it's, yeah, I could go on for hours about why I live on a boat, and I find a new reason why I do it all the time. Thunderchild is a ketch rig, and that means she has two masts. It has the main mast and the mizzen mast, and the main mast is quite a lot taller than the mizzen mast, and much to her uniqueness, she is traditionally rigged. It's all block and tackle. There's no winches to be found on the boat, so it's all mechanical advantage through these. And then she's also gaff rigged, which is supremely traditional. And she also has tan bark sails, so it's not the usual cream color that you see on every other, or white you see on every other boat. It's just glowing red sails as soon as they go up. So yeah, she's a little more crude it takes a little more effort to put the mainsail up, but yeah, she sails very well. She's not a sporty boat, which is actually what I really like about her. Anytime I've been out on racing boats and stuff, the boat's completely tipped over and it's very aggressive. This is my home. I don't need to have this turn into a wealth redistribution system. I don't need all my stuff thrown on the ground. I would rather her stay mostly upright and be able to move along at a decent clip, maybe 4 or 5 knots, which is plenty fast for a boat like this. So yeah, keep it simple, keep it safe, moderate. That's the way I like it. The benefits are a massive decrease in expenses. Haley and I were probably spending close to $4,000 or $5,000 a month living in Vancouver between the two of us, and now that we're here, we're easily under $1,000. Yeah, so the benefit is you have more personal time for yourself, more time for your boat. I had to do a big soul search because of the way I was raised and the things that have happened to me, raised in a cult, um, where I had to really and in poverty too. So having to shift what I saw as stability was really key for me. And through some basic therapy, which highly recommend, as everyone says, if they've done it, they recommend it to everybody. My therapist had taught me to reframe the concept of stability, which, Christopher McCandless and all those guys, they always go off about how seeking stability is one of the most dangerous things to an adventurous spirit. But stability is nice. And so redefining stability as owning a select few things and maintaining those things is building stability. So the more stable and viable my house and my adventure mobile becomes, then the more satisfied I am in life. When we got the boat, she was starting to suffer. But we came in at the right time to start doing maintenance. So we've stripped all this down, and I've started toying around with a special concoction of my own where I do 50-50 epoxy and pine tar, which is an industrial waste that smells like barbecue. It's amazing. And shockingly, it cures, it kicks off. It's got that dark, appealing look that you'd expect to see in deck seams on a boat. So I opened up every seam on this and refilled everything with epoxy. And then I made my own varnish, which is made out of pine tar, raw linseed oil, and then a portion of commercial grade varnish just to give it some curing agents. And so it's a very traditional thing. It's called boat soup. And so I've been using that to do all my fine finishing on the boat. Again, varnished with boat soup, and it goes straight into the bedroom. And nice little porthole in there. Still got some fine finishing to do on it, but yeah, it makes for a charming finish, the boat soup. It's been what they've been using for thousands of years, so I'll stick with it. And there's been little spots of rot here and there popping up, so I dealt with this, excavated what was bad, put epoxy on it, sealed it up for now. Yeah, and it's traditional laid decks up here, teak decking, beautiful manual windlass, which is a delight to operate. It's nice because you never run out of electricity to do it. So I just stick a giant rod in here and swing it back and forth, and the anchor comes up very slowly, but I know it will always work. There's really, I guess, 4 key things to having a boat. So there's the engine, there's the hull, there's the sails, and there's the rig. So if you don't have the experience to look at those things carefully, or you don't have the time to research it to know how to look into those things, try and bring someone along with you to look at those things. I think if you're looking to do this kind of life, don't just buy a boat and then instantly start modifying everything. You don't know what you like and what you dislike about the boat yet. It's not until you really live in it and feel it all out before you realize, actually, this does work pretty good, or, oh my God, this has to change right now. So yeah, give it some time. And if it's a wooden boat, don't be afraid of it, but be ruthless when you look at it. And yeah, get The Rigger's Apprentice by Brian Toss, get the Nigel Calder electrical book, and read Chappelle's Boat Building. And if it's a glass boat, watch Sail Life on YouTube. That's the best advice. You'll know how to fix things better than factory in all regards. Yeah, this is also the first boat I've ever owned that is tiller operated. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, but it's remarkable. It's the only way to go. Um, I was firmly in the wheel camp, but now I'm firmly tiller camp. And she steers and manages really well, and there's an autopilot, so we just press a button to make course adjustments. And as we always say when Haley and I are sailing around on the boat, it feels like the boat, is taking care of us. I don't know that everyone should live on a boat. It's definitely hard. Um, but if you're not afraid of chopping some wood or picking up your anchor and going ashore every 2 weeks to top up your water tanks, and spending that half day without water where you can't do your dishes or anything like that. And if you're okay with that sort of stuff, it makes a lot of sense. I think if you're an adventurous spirit, if you own a couch, don't buy a boat. Like, it's if you're already down that path, or if you want to buy a boat, sell your couch, get rid of that first, and then see how you like it. Sell your TV, see how you like it. I think the rewards are far outweigh the negatives, but yeah, I don't tend to hang out with people that could never do it, but I I know there's people out there that couldn't do it. Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody. Yeah. So 58 horsepower Suzu diesel. It's a beast. For a boat this size, you'd expect to see like a 30 horsepower motor. So having 58 horsepower is awesome. He said, if you can afford the venture, abandon it immediately until your fortunes change. Only then will you know what the sea is all about. Cruising is for yachtsmen who play with their boats at sea. Voyaging is for the wanderers of the world who cannot or will not fit in. And I think it's really, may have jumbled that up a bit. Wonderful quote though. And I think the key to that is, like, you're going to invest everything you have into this potential cruising life. So the smaller the better. Cost less, take less time to maintain. It's more attainable overall. And you're already going to be broke by the time you're ready to go. So that's the only way you can get out there and do it, unless you're a trust fund kid, in which case you're just cruising and you're doomed to a routine traverse, as Sterling Hayden said. So yeah, there's something very noble and exciting about the idea of like going all in on something like this, and there's not many things in life anymore that you can do that. She's never had an electrical system. She does now. It's still all a bit of a work in progress, but I mean, I can turn on my radio and stuff now. I have a radio now. Like, it's pretty wild. Um, so yeah, Simon Stiles came and helped me install all the cabling, do all the runs. There's slowly becoming more and more lights and fans and stuff, so we can get a wood fire going, blow a fan across it, and makes a big difference. But this all winter was our ice box. So we would haul ice to the boat, put it in there, and keep all the groceries safe in there, and it was awful. I hated every second of it. So now, instead of it being an ice box, this is our electrical system. It's very rudimentary, so it's 300 amp hours of lithium and a DC to DC. So when we run the motor, it is charging the lithiums. I don't have solar to it yet. I will soon, and a shunt just to give proper readouts. I think the challenge is seasonal. Summer is easy. It's in fact why we do it. You wake up with all the hatches open, and it's easy, and you don't have to put on a shirt or anything. Like, you just mosey around and chill out in your house, and you got a nice breeze going through, and all is well. But in winter, it's dark really early around here. So you spend most of the day in darkness. It's raining. Or snowing. We were lucky through this last winter if we could get the boat up to 8 degrees inside here. So you're huddled up, you're always chopping wood, and the boat, I mean, we survived it with smiles on our faces. I think I would shift it from referring to it as a challenge, and I think it's more of an essential experience that everyone should have to know that they can do it. Because if you can go through it and survive it and do it well, whether you do it again is a different story, or if you do it different next time. But I think it's an essential human experience to actually be in the elements and exposed to it and see it and feel it every day. Because when you're in an apartment, it's really easy to just, well, there's a thermostat and you got big old windows on everything. You're like, yeah, it looks kind of cold outside and you're fine. But in a boat, you're living it. You're going to and from shore constantly, and it doesn't matter if it's blowing 40 and snowing sideways, you're going ashore. And not that it was a supremely enjoyable experience, but I think it was a very valuable experience to be able to, yeah, experience what is actually happening around you in the world. Yeah, you become very attuned to the idea that, you know, it's sunny right now, so it's probably a northwest. And if it's raining, it's going to be a southeast, that sort of stuff. And you really start paying attention to everything. So I think, yeah, less of a challenge and more of a blessing in a weird way, because it just, you become in tune with the world around you. And I think that's, again, something else that's severely lacking in modern society. Marine boats should have gimbaled marine stoves. This came with this, but it's been sufficient. It's just a 2-burner camp stove. But in the long term, I'm going to consume all of my electricity by going induction. So that's going to be nice. So I'll make a gimbaled induction cooktop up here with a air fryer or something down below. Who knows? We can get creative. Not great for sailing. Everything is just exposed. So long-term plan is beautiful shelving units all the way up here, and be able to stow everything properly. Have somewhere for our pots and pans and bowls and everything. Yeah, run the propane line maybe not through the window. That'd be cool. And then the most unfortunate part about the construction of this boat is that when they went to build it, or whoever did this galley renovation, used MDF on the side panels. And if anyone knows anything about MDF and water, it's not good. So all of these were degraded, so we just pulled them out and they're going to be restored fairly soon. So we have just a hand pump right now, just air in it, and then that's all we do to get our water. And that pumps all the way from a bladder up underneath our bed up forward. And eventually I'd like to get a couple more tanks hiding out in the side of the engine room. And I do have a hot water on demand system, but I jumped the gun installing it long before I had electrical in the boat. So there's pumps and everything, so we'll have pressurized water before too long and hot water on demand. So it's just a propane unit in a heavily vented engine room. So I've operated those in tight spaces. You just got to be cautious of opening up, getting proper airflow, but they do work well. Also have theoretically maybe a shower in this zone here, but you take what you can get on a boat. Like if you look at the floors, they're a little gray and dingy, but one quick test of sanding and varnishing it over here kind of takes it from a gray, diminished looking floor. To me, this feels like hardwood flooring in an Edwardian home or something. So eventually she'll pop a bit more. I built this flooring here because it was just raw plywood. So that's the sort of direction we're going with the interior. And not the best boat building grade of materials, knotty pine and stuff. So we're going to redesign all of this to be better storage, more of a couch where it's wide open at the back. And then all of this tongue and groove around here and down below is all going to become white, and which makes it look supremely traditional instead of like questionable material choices. So hide the sins with some white paint, and I think it'll look quite charming. And yeah, we use kerosene lamp throughout the entirety of winter. The benefit is that when they're this big, they're also a heat source. So you get two going, lighting up the boat, and then you got a wood fire going. It actually gets pretty toasty pretty quickly. So yeah, everything is totally multi-purpose in a boat. So below here is all of my power tools, all of my spare engine maintenance stuff, and down here is winter clothing storage. Under here is all additional food stores. Under there is all my mechanical tools, so wrenches and stuff for the motor. And then hiding underneath these seats back there is big bricks of lead to balance the boat out. So yeah, everything being multifunction, even this included, this drops down, slides in there, and it becomes a part of a bed. This flips up and then puts slats in that go all the way across there. And it's actually the nicest bed in the boat by a long shot. Once we start getting a bit more shelving throughout the boat, this sort of stuff will settle down. But this is not as, looks nice, but it's not super seaworthy, because if you take a huge wave, your personal possessions could be all over the floor. People like to think that boating is just an RV on the water. It's a violent RV on the water. You're like, get ready to have your whole world flipped upside down. It could happen. Well, I got lucky, and the owner really liked me. That's a really nice way to get into a boat. And it cost $15,000. By all rights, this should be if this was a fiberglass boat of this build quality, it would be a 40, 50, $60,000 boat. She's easily a $30,000 wooden boat. But people are scared of wooden boats, and they don't really respect that they're built to be maintained. They're like, oh, the maintenance is hard. I'm like, no, it's actually way easier than fiberglass. It's a different skill set, and it's harder to find all the information, but it's pretty rudimentary, which is what I like about it. Um, so if you were to look at buying a trawler, for example, like a Nordhaven, for example, you're looking at millions upon millions of dollars, but you could literally find a wooden boat in the exact same size range and livability, and it's probably going to only be 20 grand. So it's just a matter of what kind of maintenance you want to do, and if you're savvy enough to spot all the mistakes or flaws on said wooden boat. But the barrier to entry is a lot lower with wooden boats, and I find um, that's what makes beautiful cruising life available to Haley and I, is that we don't have the $120,000 to buy the glass version of this boat, but we do have the time and the energy and the know-how to maintain this wooden one that we have now. So yeah, do you want to work with sawdust, or do you want to work with little bits of fiberglass flying through the air that cause silicosis? Yeah, I like the placement of the wood stove on this boat. I thought for sure I was going to replace it, but it actually kicks ass. I love this thing. And we put a little 12-volt fan up here, and we just blow it across the chimney, and it heats up the bed. It heats up the rest of the boat. It's lovely. And there used to be a clothing rack that went all the way across here, but I didn't like the concept of like clothing potentially landing on a hot fireplace, because we do run this while we're sailing quite often. And then this is the head, or the washroom, and electricity. Wow, so new to me. And yeah, we have an airhead, and it's not my favorite thing in the world. I actually quite disliked the airhead, or the composting toilet at first, but now that we've operated it for about a year, we're into the swing of it, and it's not as bad as I um, made it out to be. But I think we're still going to switch back out for an original, like, marine style toilet with a holding tank. And then yeah, this is the V berth up here. Pretty straightforward. The water tank is below us, and also the anchor locker is below us. So every time we go to anchor, we have to pick up the bed, flip it over sideways, pull some boards off, and then there's 300 feet of chain laying there that goes straight up and out. And then once you've finished doing what you're doing, gotta put it all back together. So like I said, everything's multi-purpose. Even our bed is what keeps us attached to the ground. Or I guess like the third boat I ever bought, I bought with 4 friends. It was a 26-foot boat from 1932. The investment was minimal. I think we paid $1,400 for the boat in total when we got it. And it let the two non it was two sailors and two non-sailors, and it really helped the non-sailors dive in and get their hands really dirty. She needed some repairs, like big repairs. We had to replace damn near half the side of the boat. But yeah, they're all better people for it. One of them's a full-time shipwright now. Like it's an incredible way to dive in, mitigate the risk, share the load, and feel it out. And especially with a 26-foot boat, especially if it's something like a Flicka or something very stout and seaworthy, then yeah, you can probably go in on a Flicka for 5K each with 4 people, and then you could sail to Mexico, you could sail to anything, and it's a small boat. They're wonderful boats, and I think you could really yeah, feel it out, see if the desire is there to go bigger. And but that's also a huge problem with owning boats. You always want to go bigger. And sometimes I think it's really good to recognize the cost expansion as a vessel gets larger. It's exponential because not only does it get longer, it gets wider as well. So I think Lynn and Larry Pardee, they're world famous sailors, and they sailed around the world like motorless sailboat, small boat, 26 foot. Their expression was "Go small, go now." And the phrase that she said, I might be misquoting her, is that if you wanted to consider your maintenance of your vessel, every 10 feet takes 1 day a week of maintenance. And that could be just doing the dishes and sweeping and the like, just keeping it tidy and nice and livable and not damp, but also revarnishing or painting the bottom or just servicing things that break because things will break. So if you go to a 70-foot boat, you have to have you have to be full time on it, or you have to hire someone to be on it full time, um, or it will depreciate constantly. So yeah, in the end, like Haley and I have had opportunities to get far larger boats than this, and we keep kind of just shying away because maybe this is actually the perfect size. In fact, back in the 60s, this would be considered a massive cruising boat. Most of them were way smaller than this. Nowadays, thanks to YouTube sailors and stuff, this is considered a very small cruising boat, but people would sail around the world in far less than this on the regular 15, 20, 30 years ago, and still do. This is kind of the median size now. So yeah, you don't need to think that you need to go big. As Lynn and Larry said, go small, go now. And Bernard Moitessier, a very famous sailor, asked once at a there's this book there. He asked at a Lynn and Larry event. He put his hand up, or someone put their hands up at the thing and said, "Lynn and Larry, how much will it cost to do all of this?" And Bernard was in the audience, and he just burst out laughing and said, "Everything you got." And it's true. So one of the things I had mentioned earlier, using the ice box, it was quite an operation. Your food would get wet as the ice melted and everything. It was just more hassle than we needed. And doing YouTube, we do get sponsored a number of items for review, and Blue Eddy has been incredibly kind to us. This is the AC 180T, and this is their multi-cooler, so it's actually an ice maker as well. We have a solar panel on deck over there that powers this, and we have 2 solar panels on the lifeline. The lifeline's out there that power this, and they're hot swappable batteries. They're super cool, so if that ever died, I could swap the battery over into it in case one was getting solar and the other one wasn't. But this fridge is lithium-ion powered, and it runs for 3 days on one charge. And if we had 2 batteries in here, then that would theoretically mean we could run it for 9 days. So pretty essential for off-grid life. And was, I think, our biggest quality of life change. Getting to go from an ice box and that whole routine to just having a fridge that I can log into on my phone and set the temperature and not think about any of it. Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting method I've been going with on this boat build, is that instead of doing direct centralized things that are built deeply into the boat, we've kind of been doing things with these little swappable systems. And that's kind of the nature of the way things are going with the off-grid world, and all the products that are coming out for it now, is that you can just have a folding solar panel up on deck, and a cooler that you stuff up on a counter, and you can have like a water filtration system that's got its own battery, and I could collect rainwater and then filter that into the tanks. And um, instead of having all these integrated, very expensive systems throughout the boat, we can just swap out, and as this becomes antiquated, sell it, put in the new thing, and it's not necessarily a superior way of doing things, but I think it's a really viable shortcut to having all the essential systems that you should have on a boat. The meaning of life to me is good food, good conversation, good community. And boating is the epitome of all of those things. Your life is slowed down enough that you can finally not just bust out a pack of Mr. Noodles and panic eat something because you're so busy. Now you can buy a fancy chicken and cut it up and roast it, and catch something out of the ocean and fillet it, and invite friends over and barbecue it and relax. And it doesn't even feel like that big of a labor to do. So boating really affords the first part of that: good food, good friends, and good conversation. That I What else are we here for if not that? And community, just building yourself your own little community, or being accepted into community, and just the sensation of people around you who care. Um, yeah, finding the people that choose to spend their time with you, and you choose to spend your time with them. That's the holy grail for me right there. And it's amplified with boats, 100%. They can find me on YouTube. So, you know the rum, Sailor Jerry's, right? Tattoos and rum. Well, Sailor Jerry's name is Norman Collins. My name is Barry Collins. So, I like tattoos and rum. So, Sailor Barry, that's my reference. So, yeah, our YouTube channel, Sailor Barry and Haley. It's a lot of boat restoration, it's a lot of cruising around, it's a lot of socializing and meeting amazing people. And Instagram is Wild Apostate. So if any of you know what apostate is, you know there's a story there.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend. Also, if you want to watch more alternative dwellings, we got a playlist popping up right here, and we release new episodes every single Sunday, so consider subscribing.